What's up? I'm QG, and a certain total drama character has been on my mind lately. She's headstrong and competitive, she's made the final five, and she's well known throughout the total drama community. That's right, it's... No, not her. No, not her either. She's voiced by Amelie Claire Barlow. Oh, come on. Yes, her. I've mentioned before how I really enjoyed Janiak's analysis of Heather, but this isn't the only total drama analysis he's done. He's also done an analysis of Courtney. I'm personally not as big a fan of this one. It's a good video, don't get me wrong, I just disagree with his interpretation of the character. For example, I actually like the chart. Alright, let me explain myself here. Of course, to do that, we need to dive into Courtney as a character. Since we have 65 episodes to work with here, I'll try to keep it brief. Keep in mind this is my perception of her character and shouldn't be taken as fact. I like Pock too, you can't take me seriously. But first, it's time for... What do the fans think? In this section, we cover what other total drama fans think about the topic of the video, and we'll even receive an audio response from a fan in particular. Looking at most of these reactions and responses, it's pretty clear that most people do seem to love this character. However, when you look at the overall scope of the total drama community, it's pretty clear that most people are actually mixed on her. Though it does seem to be universally agreed upon that Island is her at her best, and that she only steadily gets less good as time goes on. But overall, there's a lot of people that love her, a lot of people that hate her, and a lot of people that are kinda mixed on her. And with that being said, let's see what a fellow call-in fan has to say about one of their favorite characters, Courtney.
Courtney's a lot of things. Yes, there are those who like her because she's ridiculously hot, but there's more to her than her looks. A good character design is where you can tell what the character is all about based on how they look. Compare her look from Total Drama and Total Drama-Rama. Total Drama-Rama screams she's a child who, despite being a stickler for rules, still likes to have fun and be a kid. In Total Drama, her design isn't as bright, and it tells us the viewers that she is someone who is all business, and as you will see, she is forced to become an adult. She's also a flawed character, not in the sense that she's poorly written, but in the sense that she isn't perfect, and she isn't okay with that. At first, she seemed to be the most mature character. However, as the series goes on, we learn that she is a person who, as stated earlier, is a person driven by success, assuming that her parents placed those expectations on her, and never had a chance to be a kid. This drive, combined with a lack of proper childhood, causes her to be at times the most childish character. That latter might sound like a negative, but as I said earlier, she's a flawed character, and flawed characters make the most interesting ones. And also, Courtney, if you're real, please marry me.
Now return to your regularly scheduled program. So in Island, Courtney is quite simply a perfectionist. Everything has to be done a certain way at a certain time, and if it isn't, prepare yourself because you're gonna know about it. Duncan is critical to her character this season as he pokes and prods at her, convincing her to lighten up and not worry so much, especially about her image to others. This comes to a head in Basics training when Duncan and her steal food, resulting in Courtney getting really giddy, which seems to imply that she always has to worry about everything she does and how she looks and such. With things such as being really hyper after eating a bunch of junk food and puking, she even gives up on the challenge and teases Chef. Courtney was seemingly feeling like a teen for the first time in a while. Something a lot of people forget about
I am a CIT!
is that you're basically in charge of a bunch of other kids. So, in a way, Courtney has forced herself to grow up fast and most likely sees herself as needing to be a role model for others. She's finally just letting her hair down, putting herself and her needs as a teen first. And then she gets rigged out by Harold. Before getting to action, it's of course worth mentioning the Drama Island special, where Courtney once again feels cheated out of the competition on top of her Booten Island, which leads straight into her role in action. Oh boy, Action Courtney, the one where many cite that everything went wrong for her character. On the contrary, I believe she actually grew quite naturally throughout her 4 seasons on the show, and Action is no exception. Of course, she would feel like she deserved a second chance and would stop at nothing to do so. And honestly, yeah, she did. And not only did she returned big. Unlike Heather in Season 1, which, by the way, is just an okay season for the most part, she took her competitive antagonist role in stride and won challenge after challenge after challenge, resulting in her ultimately being the character that has overall won the 3rd most amount of challenges throughout the entire series, third only to Heather and Gwen. No wonder people love this trio so much. However, what I find more interesting this season is Courtney's relationship with Duncan. Or should I say, lack thereof. Hello? Oh, okay. Duncan fans are insisting these two are OTP, and honestly, I don't see it. Do I think Courtney is worse off because of it? Of course not. It's like the crux of her character. You won't catch me saying that about Duncan, though, since he doesn't grow all that much throughout the series. Anyways, Duncan is pretty interesting this season, for Courtney anyways. It's clear that she still likes Duncan, but is incredibly hesitant. This is likely for two reasons. Number one, it's Duncan. And number two, the last time she tried just having fun and being a teen, she got eliminated for it by association to Duncan via Harold. So of course she'd be hesitant to try again. One thing I don't see get mentioned that often in regards to action, though, is her and Justin. Did anyone else notice how she never really turned down his advances? In that 16 parody gag after they first merged, there's one point where Courtney has her hands around Justin's waist. This wouldn't catch my attention if she wasn't the only person doing this in the shot. And later, when Justin makes his advances and even tries to kiss Courtney as part of the challenge, she doesn't even really hesitate. My personal theory is that she thinks Justin looks more the part of the type of guy she would want to be seen with. Again, tying back to the whole caring about her image thing. Later in action, she gives Duncan a long list of things that he would need to correct or change to want to be seen with him. Obviously, and justifiably, Duncan ain't having it and votes her off when given the chance. Don't get me wrong, Courtney without a doubt crosses the lines of abuse in action, or just in general. She's this season's antagonist for a reason, which is exactly why she gets voted off for this. Even though up to this point, it's perfectly in character for her. So overall, Courtney was pretty great in action and had her plot continue in a natural way. Many Total Drama fans believe that when a character acts differently from how they used to act, it means they're out of character or derailed, and that's simply not how it works. With Courtney's case in particular, just because she's became more bitter and whiny over time doesn't mean she's became a bad character or should go back to how she was in Island. This character growth was completely natural for her and is objectively good. Now, whether you like it or not is entirely up to you, but they didn't just give up on Courtney. They never did. Now, on to World Tour. The writers made a very good choice to have Duncan quit the competition right in the first episode, as not only does this take the spotlight off of a character that was already prominent in the prior season, but also gives Courtney a chance to do something she hadn't had a chance to do before: compete in a season without Duncan. Surprisingly, she hadn't done this prior, but now she is, and admittedly, they don't do as much of it as they could have, but what they did was still good. I like that she sees herself as a rival to Heather, but Heather just doesn't agree. And of course, Courtney has almost no involvement in the Cadera stuff, so aside from Heather, her interactions this season are mainly with Gwen, which creates interesting implications for Courtney's character. For those that somehow aren't aware, there's a bonus clip from one of Action's aftermaths where Duncan and Gwen share a moment where they have strong romantic tensions. What's interesting about this, though, is that Courtney wants Gwen to back off. Something I think a lot of people miss when it comes to Gwen and why that inevitably happens is, well, because of Courtney's hesitance to be in a relationship with Duncan. Duncan has good chemistry with both Courtney and Gwen, but the key difference is that Courtney has always been concerned about her image, while Gwen pretty much never has. At least not until AllStars, but we'll get to that in another video. It's because of this contrast that I think Duncan ultimately loses his patience to try chasing Courtney, and instead wanted to just settle with Gwen. Which is a shame, because Courtney was not only beginning to show regret for her indecision with her relationship with Duncan, but was even showing signs of accepting who he was.
You've really got to do something about that mohawk.
That was number 7 on the list of things to change, but now I kind of like it. Love does funny things.
But of course, after the kiss happens, she practically loses it, becomes an emotional mess, and as a result is easy prey for Alejandra, inevitably leading to her elimination. I'm not going to argue whether or not her reaction to the whole situation was justified, because I feel like it should go without saying at this point why she was hurt by Gwenkin happening when it did. And so, we finally get to the meat of this course. AllStars. So, Total Drama AllStars. As much as I don't like to admit it, Courtney is pretty great this season. Let me explain. So this Courtney is slightly different from the last time we saw her. Every little thing annoys her more. She's more irritable in general, actually, and is clearly tired of Total Drama. Her problems with the hero's constant upbeat behavior likely has to do with the last person she was close to and enjoyed her time with was Gwen, so she doesn't even want to deal with that type of connection again. We get a pretty good scene in episode 1 between her and Lindsay where she makes it clear she's done with Duncan and has no plans to rebuild connections with him in any way, shape, or form.
I think Duncan wants you to yell at him, for old time's sake.
What's the point? He never listens. Besides, it's over between us. He's a bad boy. I knew it couldn't last forever. But Gwen, I thought we were friends. Last time I make that mistake.
And she never does. She also pretty much ignores Alejandro as far as I can remember, and she keeps her distance from Gwen as well initially. This new behavior of her quickly got her swapped over to the villains team, where she ends up concocting a strategy to ally with Scott. This honestly makes a lot of sense because the rest of her teammates, Gwen, Heather, and Alejandro, aren't people she would try to ally with anyways at that point, though she makes an attempt with Heather. However, she falls into a similar situation as Duncan and Island with Scott when he shares his affections for her on several occasions. Plenty of people have said that this couple moves too quickly, but I get the feeling that was the point. Duncan didn't work out because Courtney waited too long to accept Duncan for who he was and to get into a relationship with him. Meanwhile, with Scott, she went too quickly. I mean, he outright asked if she'll be his girlfriend, which she accepts. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't think of a single other couple in total drama history that ever officially became a thing so quickly. They first had interactions in episode 4 and were having anniversaries by episode 9. People dog on Zoke for moving too quick, but this couple, and no, I don't count things like Beth and Harold, is by far the most rushed in the entire series. However, creating a relationship with Scott isn't the only thing she does, as she eventually befriends Gwen again after they duke it out in episode 7. At one point, Evil Mike shoves Cam into Courtney, causing them to accidentally kiss, resulting in a bit of a reversal for the whole love triangle stuff in regards to someone cheating on their partner. However, this plot, her relationship with Scott, and her rekindled friendship with Gwen, is ripped away with a single episode. You know the one. Let me make one thing clear. I don't like this episode. The plot is awful, the execution of it is terrible, the inconsistencies to past continuity is near insulting, and even ignoring all that stuff, it's not really a fun episode to watch. However, what I do see here is what they wanted to do with Courtney, and it had a lot of potential. First of all, the chart, totally in character. Not in the context, but Courtney would do something like that. The fact that there's no build-up or past foreshadowing to this, though, is straight up bad writing. But again, it's something she would totally do. So having her make one this season makes sense. Again, not in the context, but it's in character. Many people complain that after the chart is revealed, she begins acting wildly out of character, being especially whiny and critical. The way I see it, this is the first time Courtney knows she's been had. Think about it. In Island, Action, and World Tour, she didn't expect to get eliminated when she did, especially Island. But in AllStars, it's clear to both her and the audience that if she doesn't win the challenge, she's toast. So, why bother? Why bother playing nice and trying to stay in everyone's good graces when she could just go back to her action way of competing and prioritizing the competition and nothing else? With the reveal of this chart, it's clear that she's tired of every single aspect of the show except the actual competition, which she still aims to win. Of course, her new behavior in Sunday doesn't work, as Chris spins the rules on the contestants, screwing her out of winning. This results in a 3-2 vote elimination, and Courtney is out. In an ideal world, this plot would have been really interesting and a good way to set up Courtney as a finalist, to be quite honest. Yes, even with the chart. Throughout the entire season, Zoe has been in Courtney's crosshairs for being a threat. But that's always how Courtney has seen Zoe, never as a kind person, just as a strong competitor. She's almost become obsessed with the competition. So, let's see how I would personally fix this character this season. So, first things first, I wouldn't change much of anything prior to Sunday, Monday, Sunday, with an obvious exception of, in episode 8 onward, have her continue showing off her chart every once in a while to the audience at home, so that it's not completely out of left field when it does get revealed, but still make it clear that she does care about Gwen and Scott. Now on to Sunday Muddy Sunday itself. Most of the plot can stay the same, including Zoe winning the challenge, and the votes can even stay the same, including Courtney voting for Scott and not herself. The difference being that it's revealed that Courtney has the immunity statue, which she had taken from Scott at one point without him realizing, resulting in Scott getting eliminated instead, which of course upsets Courtney. Yeah, remember when that exile to Boney Island thing was a thing that season. They could have totally brought that back and shocked everyone, but nope, they just never bring it up again. Now, in the final 4 episodes, Zoe can do the same thing she did before, and edgy Mike can still try to sabotage the others. But the difference is Gwen and Courtney have to search in the house for objects together. Gwen is of course not willing to make amends with Courtney, but eventually Courtney has a heart-to-heart with Gwen. She doesn't immediately forgive her, though. Shortly after this happens, Edgelord does something similar to what he does in the actual episode, where he knocks out a post to have a bunch of burned rubble fall from above. It's about to land on Courtney and Gwen before Gwen shoves Courtney out of the way, resulting in her being unharmed. Courtney runs off to go get Chris. However, something different happens here. Zoe, having already completed her challenge, goes to find Mike and sees Edgeworth do this. He lunges at her before being stopped midair by Courtney. He gets knocked out cold as a result, while Courtney and Zoe go to get help. As they do that, Mal is defeated by Mike in his head in a better way than the dang tower and button. He doesn't lose his personality, simply gains control of Mal like he does with the other personalities in Rhodey. At the elimination ceremony, Gwen is too injured to continue and has to leave. Zoe still gets to choose who she takes with her to the finale, Courtney or Mike, and between the two, chooses Courtney. Couple reasons for this. She knows that her and Mike would split the money anyways, and she wanted Mike to go get more psychological help and to get in touch with her again when he does. Now, time for the finale. Everyone except Duncan and Mike return to watch. The challenge involves the season hero, dubbed by Chris, to defend a castle for a set amount of time, while the season villain, again dubbed by Chris, tries to invade the castle and put their sword in the stone slot inside the castle before the time runs out. Zoe is tasked with defending, and Courtney is tasked with invading. Chris also assigns 2 helpers for Courtney and Zoe each, which are quote-unquote randomly chosen, with Zoe's helpers being Cameron, who's still injured, and Sierra, and Courtney's helpers being Scott and Gwen, who's also still injured. Scott has to help Gwen too much with obstacles to be of much help to Courtney here, while Sierra and Cameron do what they can to help Zoe defend, all the while trying to keep her focused as she keeps thinking about Mike. Eventually, Courtney makes it into the castle with about a minute to spare before Zoe stops her in her path. Courtney breaks down and drops her sword, knowing that she came so close only to fail, but more so upset that she lost her friend and boyfriend in the process. Zoe has a heart-to-heart with her about how win or lose she can still make those things right and that she doesn't have to be so concerned with her status. Zoe and Courtney hug, and then we get one of 2 endings. In Courtney's ending, Zoe picks up the sword as she's hugging Courtney and chucks it into the slot for her with seconds to spare, similar to how she chucks the Statue of Liberty arm perfectly in place in episode 2 of this season. Courtney cheers and is giddy and makes amends with Gwen and Scott. In Zoe's ending, they just hug until the time runs out, resulting in Zoe winning. Cameron and Sierra applaud her, but more importantly, so does Courtney. Courtney still makes amends with Gwen and Scott as well. And that's it. Season over. So in conclusion, I find Courtney to be a very well executed character throughout the 4 seasons she was in that got completely tainted by 1 episode. A shame, because otherwise I find her to be one of the most interesting characters in the cast and an easy favorite. But as is, the way her arc concludes in AllStars has almost permanently tainted her character and will require an entire redemption arc season to amend, which at this point is looking less and less likely to happen. But still, what AllStars tried to do with her was so interesting, made sense, and could have made for a great arc. But sadly, it didn't come to fruition, likely because of how torn the community as a whole has been on Courtney as a character. But I don't mind how the community feels. I can make a case all I want, but at the end of the day, I'm the one that likes Courtney so much as a character and saw so much potential in what they were going for in AllStars. It's just a shame that it never really happened. With all that being said, I've been talking pretty positively about Total Drama for the most part up to this point. It's time to put a certain fan series under a more negative lens that most YouTubers seem to give too much slack. With that, peace.